Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Vampire Counts led by Tom, facing off against the Greenskins, who shall be helmed by Toxic Cow here on the Gates of Ekron, so very much a lane kind of battle map. What I mean by lane is there's two objectives that are going to be facing each other over here, and usually on this map, the epicenter of battle is really between objectives 1 and 2, with a little bit of skirmishing over on this side. Now, as far as the Vampire Count army goes, it's going to be very standard, I would say, out of the gates. Zombies and skeletons backed up by corpse guards, although some grave guard in the mix. Sternsmen are a pretty common pick, one of the best infantry units in the entire game. They can take most of the greenskin infantry, with the exception of maybe a great weapon black orc. Yeah, very beast mode for sure. More zombies, more skeletons to hold the objectives, and it is going to be Manfred von Baldstein flying around over here, being angry and bald, and he is going to be using Gaze in the Gash, which has become very meta these days for vampires, for Lord sniping and hero sniping. Actually going to be using Gaze in the Gash on the Ruglud's armored orcs. Interesting. Does a little bit of damage, probably not worth it. I still think using it maybe to snipe single entities is probably a little bit stronger, but Manfred does have an obscene amount of Winds of Magic because of the Sword of Unholy Power. So when Manfred is engaged in combat, he's perpetually generating reserve. So theoretically, as long as he's not killed in combat and he could just sit there, he could generate like infinite Winds of Magic, which is pretty crazy. So that's going to be the army for the Vampire Counts, and for the Orcs, it's going to be a lot of Savage Orc Biggins, which are a cool unit. They do well enough against Vampiric Infantry, and they can also fight against things like Cryptors with their anti-large. They got Gorbad, Iron Claw. So Gorbad is a really nice force multiplier. You just plop him down to the main fighting, especially in a Vampire Blob fight, and he's giving +10, +10 on stats. So kind of like a steroided up Corpse Guard, which is pretty cool. So yeah, going to be a lot of the semi-elite greenskin infantry backed up by the Flinger Shrine, I think. Yeah, so an Arachnarok Spider Flinger with the River Trolls as well as the Ruglud's armored orcs. All right. So Flinger is doing a little bit of flinging, and it is flinging on the face here of the Skeleton Warriors. And so far has done some very good damage out of the gates. Manfred flying through the woods, kind of scouting, trying to decide what he wants to do here. But it does look like the Orcs are going to be getting the jump here on the objective. Vampires took it initially, but the Orcs are going to be sending over an Orc Boy and a Savage Orc Biggin, which is going to be giving them dominance over that objective. Now, how are the Vampire Counts going to play this? Are they going to call in some like Shock Cavalry or some monsters? Maybe some Sternsmen are a good tech against, or Graveguard, just standard sword and board against the Biggins here. But it looks like they're going to be relinquishing that and maybe kind of planning their strategy here, switching up and heading for the home objective of the Greenskins. If I were playing Vampire Counts myself, now Tom probably plays them more than I, so he probably knows better. The Flamer Shrine actually doing quite good, though. I'm not unhappy with this. This is some respectable damage, but I'd probably consolidate my entire Vampire Count army and just go Unga Bunga on objective number 2. Just go for it, blob, force the fight there, and just hedge your bets and hope you can win that fight. Because that's what Vampire Counts do. And a Mortis Engine would basically hard counter this entire army. I mean, there's a Spider there as well as some Archers, but that's pretty much all that would be good against a Mortis Engine. And I think it wouldn't be too hard to protect the Mortis against just the Arachnarok Spider, but I could be wrong. On the far side, Mortis Engine called in here, and it looks like it is going to be split pushing, so the Mortis Engine is going to be heading for objective number 3, and we do have some Crypt Ghouls. Oh man, what is this? This is some forbidden tactics here. Looks like Tom is getting a little bit sneaky back here and hiding his ghouls, so is he waiting for his opponent to call in artillery? Okay, if that is the case, that is the most clever thing. Maybe he's like, okay, my opponent's going to call in Doomdiver Catapults to counter my freaking Mortis Engine, so I'm going to sneak a stealth unit back here, I'm going to hide it, and I'm going to ambush you. That is really freaking clever, man. I love that. A little bit of fighting over here. We do have the Sternsmen, I believe, and the White King, so there are 2 White Kings. Might as well just assume they're in most of these armies. They're going to be clashing with the Orc front line, but the Orcs are going to be pretty strong here. 60 melee attack is super jacked on these Orc Biggins, and of course Gorbad is a really good armor-piercing fighter, so in sustained combat he should trade well into White Kings, although 2v1 maybe he loses that fight. Now on the other side, it looks like the Orcs do have that. Mortis Engine's going to be creeping up. Orcs do have the Broken Tusk Mob anti-large fighters. So if they can isolate the Mortis Engine, I mean, certainly going to be good for them, but I don't think they'll be able to get that easily. Vampires advancing up here, which is a little bit of a risky one. I think this is a big blunder here by the Vampire Counts. If you're taking a fight here and focusing your efforts over here, there's no sense in throwing your isolated zombie position to the dogs, because basically all of these zombies and skeletons are going to be getting taken to Pound Town by the Orc units here. The River Trolls are going to give them the dirty, the Archers, and I think we also had some Biggins over here, and yeah, these shirtless hobos here definitely going to be able to cut through the zombies with ease. You can see they're getting butchered really quickly. So this was a big blunder. I mean, in a way, it does keep the Orc army from advancing and helping over here, but I think just keeping them back would have been the play. On the other side, Mortis Engine is involved, and now one of the coolest units in the game is called out. It's going to be the Blood Knights. So Blood Knights are, they'll trade okay into the Broken Test Mob. It depends if they have support and healing and different things like that. Yeah, if Manfred is with them and he's able to provide a zombie summon, for example, on top of them, it's just going to GG these guys. So that is a really nice play. Using a zombie summon to target their retreat here. So zombies come from the earth, and then the Blood Knights are going to be right on their tail. Manfred should be nearby as well. Did he end up diving in there? It's a little bit hard to see. But yeah, we got Dire Pack coming in. We have Crypt Ghouls. Overall, as long as they just focus the Broken Test Mob here, they should be fine. I don't know what the Blood Knights are attacking. Okay, it looks like they're turning and fighting now. Broken Tusk Mob are very tanky. They do have 100 armor and pretty good melee defense by Greenskin standards. But overall, looking at this position, it does look a little bit favored for the Vampire counts. We do see the Broken Tusk Mob getting worn down. The Wog is active, though, and the Savage Orc Biggins going to be chewing through these Crypt Ghouls. Mortis Engine doing some very, very good work, but still taking some damage. Definitely want to get that Mortis Engine stacked on top of units. In the back, we get some Skirmishers coming in, so that is a good response from the Orcs here. So Toxic Cow going to be getting the Morgubs, Mangy Marauders, and the Rusty Errors, which is a great tech. Archers shooting down Mortis Engines is always very cost-effective, but the Vampires are able to disengage some of the doggos from the blob fight and use them to get in the face of these archers and do a little bit of work. But yeah, we do see the Broken Toss Mob. I don't know why I was thinking StarCraft, like the Toss, but whatever, it is what it is. They get broken. Broken Tusk Mob is broken. And on the other side, though, the Wa is going strong. We do see the Vampires kind of losing this position on this side. White Kings, though, able to do some considerable work against Gorbad, which at this point, I think that Tom is going to want to look for some sniping opportunities. Maybe get up in the sky with Manfred, use that overcasted Gaze of Nagash, just get real saucy in there and do some work. Because if you could snipe out the Greenskin Lord when the battle's close, it's just going to completely turn the tide. Troll's base leadership is super low, right? Their base leadership is 45. You take 16 leadership away from that, and those guys are going to be at 29 leadership, which is incredibly brutal in combat. On the other side, Vampires are sweeping, so both players kind of trading sides, but that is going to be giving the Vampires the advantage on the objectives. Objective 3 is going to go in their favor. Objective 1 is pretty easy to defend for them, probably. Calling in Skeletons and Zombies could actually flip here, but I would assume they're going to rotate back and across with their main army, and we'll see what's cooking there. Rusty Error is taken down by the Devils of Swartzoffen, and on the backside, Manfred just kind of floating around, being an evil, cackling vampire. Manfred doesn't come across, obviously the Necromancers, they're always laughing in this game, but Manfred doesn't seem like the type who would, laugh. Maybe in victory, if it's a really sweet victory. He seems like he would just, grin and be very smug about it compared to some of the other Necromancers who just are cackling wildly. But here, 2 Savage Orcs, that is 10 capture weight. Skeletons and Zombies are only 2 capture weight because they're considered in the expendable infantry class, so it's going to be very tough for them to get that objective back. Actually impossible if it's just them. And here, a blob fight that's actually going pretty well for the Wog. Fist of Gork active. Stern's been crumbling down. White Kings are looking very low. The combat prowess of Gorbad is certainly no joke. He's a good little fighter, too. Even in his very beleaguered, tired, poisoned, wounded state, he's got good stats. You can see he's sitting at 46, 45, and plus 400 on the weapon strength. Not bad at all, right? So there goes the Sternsmen. They're going to be crumbling to dust. More Orcs on the way in, and it looks like the Vampires are going to be sweeping across. Manfred needs to go just sit right over the head of this fight and just use that killer instinct that the Vampire counts are known for, and use that Gaze of Nagash on freaking Gorbad. It'll do a lot of work. Now, we do get the Dire Pack, as well as some Varguys charging into Stone Trolls. Stone Trolls are pretty resilient by Troll standards. Higher armor values will make them last a little bit longer, but their leadership being fully enveloped by 2, scary, fear-causing units, terror-causing units, I think. The Devils do cause terror, I believe, yeah. Completely breaks those Stone Trolls. And what a nice play by Tom, man. Really clinical Vampire count stuff. Using a zombie summon right here to block the advance of the Orc Borbo Biggins is just chef's kiss. Borbo Biggins are a unit that really want their charge bonus, and if you could break their charges and then countercharge them yourself, you're just going to be winning over and over, right? So on this side, the Mortis Engine is still there, and the Orcs are going to be consolidating their army over towards Objective 1, but ignoring the Vampire count back pressure here is going to be tough, because pretty much all the reinforcements the Orcs call out are going to get their bread buttered, and then the Vampires are easily going to come up here and get Objective number 2. On the other side, a little bit of a theft. I like this. Crypt Ghouls going to be trying to move up to mitigate this capture, but it does look like the Orcs will get their claws on it if the Night Goblins move up on the point. We'll see if they do. Maybe the Crypt Ghouls will get there in time, and on the other side, another unit of Crypt Ghouls is going to be getting called in. So Orcs do decide to come back and defend Objective number 2, which is probably the right play, but I don't know if they have enough. They're comfortably holding the home objective of the Vampires with the Flinger Spider and the Savage Orc Biggins. Probably what you do here is you leave one Savage Orc Biggin and the Ragnarok Spider, and then you just move everything back towards this objective and try and win that fight there. It's getting a little bit dodgy on points. We do see 762 for the Orcs and 644 for the Vampire count. So a very, very close game, actually, in terms of points. Direwolf's going to be parking right here. White King's still very much alive. The Mortis Engine is cackling in the woods, and I am pretty sure there's actually a Necromancer riding that thing. Let me see. Yeah, he's up there somewhere. It's not technically a character, but just in terms of the look of the model, there is a Necromancer standing on top of the Mortis Engine, so he's doing his thing. On the back point, vampire counts are in the process of flipping it, and man, oh man, have the zombie summons from Tom been so good this game. So the orcs, here's the thing. Fully erect Rage Boner. Orcs are the best. Fist of Gork, Wog active. This Boarboy Biggin unit was on its way to just crump these Blood Knights. Like, they would have crumped them really bad with all these stat modifiers. But now, the zombie summon in front of them just chef's kiss. Blocks them up. They're going to be wasting all that combat prowess just chewing through a zombie unit. They do get hit with Gaze into Gash. And yeah, that's probably the only mistake I've been seeing from Tom this game is his usage of Gaze into Gash. It's better for Lord sniping in my experience. And, you know, especially when it's a mounted Lord, you could just blast him in the face. Like, Gorbad would be dead right now if you just overcasted Gaze on him. He'd probably be in the trash. On the back point, orcs are hanging out using the Flinger Shrine, but that was pretty brutal. We do see the Broken Tusk Mob, the Rage Boner. It is now limp, and they are fully surrounded here. The Dire Pack, zombies, as well as the Blood Knights are getting their work done. And over here, we do see the Orc Cav on their way in as well. And the other side, though, the Orcs do manage to get it. The sneaky gets. They have some Night Goblin Archers there, but the Ghouls should be able to feast on them and get that objective back, I would imagine, assuming the Orcs don't call in more. And expendable capture weight's going to be on the way up. So zombies and skeletons, that's going to be 6 capture weight in total. So not a bad deal, right? You're basically paying 500 gold for 6 capture weight. Yeah, it's like a basic infantry unit, but just with a lot more HP. On the backside, Vampire Count's holding this. Orcs bringing in another Boarboy unit. Can the MLG Zombie Summon plays carry this game? The Orcs might start to win the sustained grind on this objective if there's no Mortis Engine present. The Mortis Engine, of course, is doing pretty well over here, draining down some Savage Orc Piggins, but I really think that the Mortis Engine needs to detach from this engagement, move up here, and just win the game with a big blob fight. Because if it's draining all these units, that's going to be so clutch. Blood Knight's going to be retreating away, and the Savage Orc Piggins, you know, good leadership unit. I think their base leadership's like 70 or something, 68, yeah. They're able to hold on well, but dude, just snipe Gorbad, for the love of God, get him. Blood Knights get a little bit of an envelop, but they're trapped up now as well. There's a lot of Boarboy Biggins nearby, and this could be the end of the Blood Knights. The Knights of Red Keep have done pretty well, 1,200 value, but gotten some really good shock engagements there. And on the far side, Vampire Counts are going to get this objective back. Oh, they don't see the Archers. So the Night Goblins, very, you know, lore-friendly, right? Night Goblins kind of creep into the brush here, get a nice little ambush on the Ghouls, and they don't do a lot of damage, but Ghouls are very squishy. They have no missile mitigation whatsoever, only have 30 armor, so they're going to get probably killed by this, but I think the zombies and skeletons arriving will be enough to mitigate that, so they're crumbling. Obviously, the Vampire Count player, very focused on micro over here. Going to be trying to get the home objective back, but you got to do it very quickly. It's getting very close to the point where the Orcs would win on just one objective, which could certainly happen. So broken and running are the Savage Orcs. Manfred's going to be pulling back here and now going after the Spider. A very risky gambit. The Spider is actually an anti-large fighter, but it is isolated. I mean, potentially if you surround it with something, maybe some Crypt Horrors or something like that. Blood Knights will do the trick. Okay, I didn't see what kind of cavalry those were, but the Blood Knights and Knights of Red Keep are going to be excellent against this thing. They will lack the armor piercing to really punch through it super quickly. But it'll still go down. It's currently sitting at 5,700. Manfred's getting in there with his bald head and rubbing it all over the Spider. And this objective is owned by the Greenskins. But man, oh man, this is a scrappy little game here. Skeletons up on the point. Night Goblin Archers, and I love the River Trolls. River Trolls are going to crump everything on this point, so that's a pretty good play by Toxic Cow there. The Mortis Engine getting a drain, hitting all the units, so definitely needs to consolidate on top of some chaff units, and this is a huge play by Toxic Cow. He's been quite relentless. Despite some very tough situations, he's been able to scrap and stay in this game, because a lot of the zombie summons and trapping those expensive Greenskin units were pretty brutal, honestly, but Toxic Cow is still up in value, but with Vampiric Healing taken into account, it's a very even game, actually. But here's the Mortis Engine, a little bit surrounded, Invocation to Heck going down. Mortis Engines do not like to be on their own. Lots of zombies and skeletons coming in. The Blood Knights, man, this Flinger Spider's doing work. And now there's going to be some River Trolls coming in. The Spider might actually live, and the memory remains. There it goes. All right, so Blood Knights down to a couple models left. They are going to be in the process of crumbling. Manfred needs to drop a Zombie Summon on top of that. He does, so Zombie Summon on top of the Mortis is a pretty MLG play. How's the fight looking on this side? It looks like the Vampire Counts were able to get that and stem the bleeding right now, but man, oh man, are they going to be able to triple cap the Greenskins in this little time? I don't know. We do see the break finally. Man, if only the Vampires had sniped Gorbad earlier, it would be such a different game. You can see the leadership starting to get a little bit fickle on some of these Greenskins. Vampires are on the outside. They do not have their home objective, nor do they have objective 2. I think this game's actually over. I simply think there's not enough time for our boy Tom here to get this back, but really nice game. Super fun match on both sides. There were mistakes on both sides, but that what makes games interesting. I make a hell of a lot of mistakes. I unsummon units at the start of battle. I leave things in the corner of the map. It is the way, but is he going to get it? Oh shit, the sneaky dog's in the outside. Do we still have is there a glimmer of hope for the Vampires? I don't know. Stone Trolls get there, probably bash them down, but look at that, man. The mass route, no freaking way he gets this. No freaking way. Okay, Vampires with Gorbad being on the run, yeah, it looks like they're leaderless. I mean, they still technically have a leader on the field. Vampires are holding on to the outside objective. Their home objective is going to be retaken right here, and I just think there's not going to be enough time. Yeah, he's only got about 5 seconds, so GG, well played. Victory for Cow. That was a great little match, man. Super fun builds by both players. Like, I love seeing Blood Knights. They're one of my favorite. They're probably my favorite Vampire Count unit. I think they're so cool. And the Mortis engine was always fun to see. And yeah, the cool ass build from Toxic Cow. What an absolute Chad. And making it work too. Using the Mass Savage Orc Biggin with the Ruggled's Armored and the Flinger with 3,200 value. God damn, dude. The Flinger meta is upon us. I loved it, man. Really, really fun game. Shout out to these guys. And big shout out to our boy Tom for sending in a loss. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you around. And more replays coming soon.